Welcome to Books Mandala's YouTube channel. In this channel, we talk about everything and anything related to books. In today's video, I will be talking about The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is a historical fiction romance and it tells the story of Evelyn Hugo, who is a Hollywood actress, and she's a really famous Hollywood actress, and we get to know about her life story through Monique Grant. Monique Grant is a 35-year-old writer for Vivian magazine, and she was recently informed by her editor that she was chosen by Evelyn Hugo. She was chosen to interview the icon Evelyn Hugo because Evelyn is supposedly selling her dresses for a breast cancer foundation. So Evelyn Hugo is auctioning off some of her dresses for this breast cancer awareness program. So when Monique goes to Evelyn's apartment to interview Evelyn for the first time, she is informed by Evelyn that Evelyn actually wants Monique to write a book about Evelyn's journey. So Monique is a very beginner writer, and she's very shocked to find that Evelyn, the icon, is choosing her, a simple girl who is not known by everyone, to write her autobiography, and that is very strange. So in this book, Evelyn wants to share about her life, her private story, things that nobody knows, and about her love, about her having 7 husbands, and who the love of her life is. Evelyn launches into her story, and we see her as this 14-year-old girl who is very beautiful and who comes from a very, very poor family, and how she goes from being poor to one of the most iconic Hollywood stars and being rich as well. We start off with Evelyn marrying Ernie Diaz. Ernie Diaz is one of Evelyn's husband, her first husband. Evelyn marries Ernie Diaz in exchange to move to Hollywood. So after she moves to Hollywood, she pretty soon divorces with Ernie Diaz, and there she meets Harry Cameron, who is a very famous producer, and she befriends him very quickly. And Harry Cameron is another very important character of this story, and the friendship that Harry and Evelyn have is so pure, so nice, absolutely loved by everyone who reads the book. So Evelyn really wants to do something in the film industry. Evelyn seduces an executive at Sunset Studios. Sunset Studios is where Harry Cameron works as well, in order to get the part of Joe in the film adaptation of Little Women. And in this film adaptation, she meets Celia St. James, and Celia St. James is like one of the most important characters of this book. So one of the reasons that Evelyn divorces Ernie Diaz is because Sunset Studios wants Evelyn to be seen with famous people, like fellow movie stars, or somebody that comes from a very rich or famous family, or somebody that is famous in general. So she divorces Ernie Diaz, like I previously mentioned, and she falls for a fellow actor named Don Adler. So Don Adler is Evelyn's second husband and the least likable husband ever. Don Adler is literally hated by everyone. I cannot stand him. You probably won't be able to stand him after you read this book. Evelyn soon falls in love with Don Adler, and he's very enigmatic and charming. During their first date, Don is so charming, and soon they get married, and it's a really big event because both of them are pretty famous and pretty uprising stars in Hollywood. Don and Evelyn get married, and after a while, Don starts to be very abusive. He starts hitting Evelyn, and he is so different from when they met for the very first time. And Evelyn's like, he was so different when we had our first date. Whenever Evelyn does not agree with what Don says, Don gets very aggressive, and if Evelyn is rising, if Evelyn is doing something good, but at the same time Don is not having good time. He really takes out all his frustration on Evelyn because he's the jealous type. He is really unlikable. Evelyn is now 21 years old and the production for The Little Women is going on, and in the set she meets Celia St. James, and Evelyn is initially very jealous of Celia because Celia is really good at acting. Evelyn is good at acting, but Celia is just so good at acting that it absolutely baffles Evelyn. Celia also, on the other hand, envies Evelyn for her beauty, her fame, and Evelyn soon realizes that from a friend that Celia is a lesbian. So one day Evelyn confronts Celia in private, and she basically asks Celia if she's a lesbian, and Celia in return asks Evelyn if she will stop being her friend if it is true, and Evelyn kisses Celia. At this same party, Don Adler is having sex with different women. So Evelyn soon divorces with Don and moves in with Celia in Celia's apartment, but nobody knows about it yet. They've built in a persona as though they're friends. At that time, people weren't openly queer, and it is really hard for Evelyn to accept Celia, but at the same time she loves Celia. I think that is it for the non-spoilery part. If you want to know more about this book, you should definitely read it, and if you want to know why Evelyn exclusively chose Monique, the writer who is gonna write Evelyn's book, why she exclusively chose Monique to write her book, why Monique, there's this whole question as to why Evelyn chose Monique throughout this whole book, and we only find out why in the very last few chapters, and it is absolutely shocking. So you should definitely read this book to answer your question and to answer the main question, which is, does Evelyn have 7 husbands?